Hey everyone, today something very special. I'm taking on one of my students who crossed 1500 fairly recently, and I've been teaching him the King's Indian defense with black. So I'm going to play against it with white, and I'm going to see how I go. Now, I don't play a lot of 1d4, so I'm also going to be a little bit out of my comfort zone here. So, Paul's got a good chance of securing a victory here, if he plays well. I mean, of course, it's anyone's game once the game begins. Now, all of these moves are pretty standard. Black is playing the normal King's Indian defense setup. The move d6 is important in order to prevent white from pushing e5, gaining too much space in the center. What I'm going to play here is a variation called the semi-Averbach variation. Now, the idea here is you leave your knight on its starting square for a bit longer, develop the bishop, and develop the other bishop, and it comes with aggressive intent, okay? So one of the things about this setup is that with the bishop here, and no knight on f3, there's not the usual possibility to play knight to g4 from black's point of view, right? Like when the knight's on f3, knight to g4 can be quite annoying, attacking the dark squared bishop. But with the knight still on its starting square, this isn't a problem. So Paul's gone for e5, which is the normal pawn break in the King's Indian defense. And I'm going to close up the center with d5. And yeah, the idea here from white's point of view is going to be to pretty quickly push h4, h5, queen to d2 also possible, looking to trade off the dark squared bishops and attack aggressively. Now that knight is coming to c5. I think in this case I'm not actually too worried about that, because I'm just going to play f3 to reinforce the pawn. Now, as I mentioned at the start, I'm not so familiar with playing this with white, so I have to actually slow myself a bit down here, because you know this is very tricky for both sides. And normally, because I know my opening theory well, I'm used to playing the first few moves quite quickly. But when you're in unfamiliar territory, it's a good idea to slow down a little bit. So, am I worried about knight to c5? Well, I think in that case I play f3, because I'm not intending to castle kingside anyway, so f3 is a move that I don't mind playing. I can play h4 straight away also, before putting the queen here, but I think the queen here is actually quite useful. So knight here is what I'm expecting, and then f3. I think that's completely fine. So by playing the queen to d2, I'm ready to castle queenside if need be. And yeah, I'm expecting knight to c5 here, in which case f3. So very important to think of what your opponent's incoming moves are, and to have your responses ready for them. Now, if your opponent surprises you, then that's already a step in the wrong direction. You want to avoid that if possible. So always be anticipating what might be coming from your opponent. So this formation of the bishop on e3 and the queen on d2 is a very common setup to target black's Fian Shadow setup. Yeah, bishop to h6 will trade the dark squared bishop of black's, which is a key defender around the black king. So the move a5 has been played. Makes some sense, looking to prevent me from kicking the knight away in case of knight to c5. I don't think he maybe needed to play that just yet, because yeah, after knight to c5, he actually had a threat there. So he could play knight to c5 first, forcing f3, and maybe then play a5. That might be the way to play it. Now, one idea also is actually to leave the king in the center for quite a long time. So I'm not actually in any rush to castle queenside here. This pawn advance could become a bit scary if I put my king over on that side of the board, but it actually turns out in the semi-Averbach variation that it's quite hard for black to open the center. So we're going to test Paul's understanding here. I think the move that he actually needs to find at some point is c6, which goes against the usual way of playing in the King's Indian. Normally in the King's Indian, against the main line and so on, black is the one pushing on the king's side with moves like f5. So this is one reason that I wanted to try playing this variation, to just not only test Paul's knowledge of the opening, but to test his knowledge of what happens if your opponent does something a little bit unusual, or something that you haven't studied perhaps in quite so much detail. I mean, the semi-Averbach variation is probably not seen very much at the 1500 level. Yeah, it's more likely that Paul sees a lot more London systems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my own attack. Let's see. Maybe the king's going to stay in the center. This knight, remember, I don't really want to put it on f3, because in case of knight to f3, there's always the possibility of knight to g4 from black, and I want to avoid this. So this knight's going to show up on c5 pretty soon, and I've still got my reply f3. This knight could still get into the game via h3. This is another way of developing it. But yeah, my plan here in the semi-Averbach variation is just pushing pawns on the king's side, trying to open up lines. There'll be bishop to h6 at some point. If I can play bishop to h6, trading off that bishop, and if I can get this h-pawn traded off the board somehow, well, this rook is actually very useful on h1. So let's just imagine this. My dream scenario. I want to play h5, capture on g6. Black takes back. I play bishop to h6. There's either a capture here, or I'm the one initiating the capture, and then my queen gets to h6 with the h-file open, the rook's on h1, the queen's on h6, this dark squared bishop's gone, and that's the way that I'm looking to cause some problems for black. Now, if you're enjoying the video so far, do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I've got all sorts of great chess content coming up, so by subscribing, you won't miss out on any of the future videos that I'm preparing. I'm doing a lot of instructional content lately, around showing the common mistakes, the common pitfalls at different rating levels. So if that sounds like the type of content that you think would be useful, then stay tuned. Okay, h5. I mean, that's actually the move that I've taught Paul to play against an h4 threat. So I quite like this move. Now I can play f3 to play g4. In case of a capture, you can actually push ahead without even taking back. This is one idea. Another idea can be to bring the knight into this strong square. Another idea could be to play bishop to h6 straight away. Lots of interesting ideas here, actually. Just which order to play them in. Always a bit tricky when you're still quite new to an opening system. Could I even play g4 immediately? Let's see. If g4, then he plays this. I advance, and he takes again. Not so sure that quite works. Getting the knight to this square can be an idea, but having it here would actually block my bishop to h6 idea. Maybe bishop to h6 now is quite strong, because that would free me to play knight to f3 without worrying about knight to g4 so much. If he plays knight to c5, I'm still going to play f3. So I'm going to play this move now. In case there's a capture, my queen shows up on h6, which is a pretty aggressive square for it. And you can notice how I'm leaving my king in the center. Now, again, I think the way that Paul needs to fight against this eventually is to play c6. This is the move that I'm looking for him to find. Understanding that with my king in the center like this, he actually needs to open up the center. It's not actually any good to attack on the queen side just yet, because I might not put my king there. Knight to c5 is a move that I'm expecting, in which case I'm playing f3. So even on my opponent's turn, I'm still thinking about what I'm expecting for my opponent to play. If he plays c6, there is actually the possibility of capturing on c6, believe it or not. You can do that in order to target this pawn, right? With the knight here, well, the knight was there. The knight was on d7. And with that knight on d7, the queen's line of protection towards d6 was blocked. So just to finish off on that line, we're going to get something different now, but if c6, there would have been taking on c6, and after black takes back, I could have taken that pawn, back when the knight was on this square. Okay, that was the move that I was expecting to see. f3 was the response I was preparing. I want to play f3 anyway, because I want to prepare g4 also. The queen's still guarding this bishop, and I can capture here at any moment, looking to weaken the squares around the black king. It's very hard to attack the black king without this bishop being traded off. Sometimes, if the black rook is on e8, then black is able to respond to this bishop to h6 idea with bishop to h8. But with the rook on f8 still, that's not really an option, because you'll just lose the exchange. Then again, sometimes giving up the exchange can be not so bad for black. Like that dark squared bishop, if it's unopposed, could be quite powerful. I've also weakened some dark squares around my own king, right? Like this is a double-edged position. This is quite tough for both players, and this is one reason why it's interesting, semi-Averbach, right? It's very challenging for both players. This knight is still on its starting square. I can always play it out though, and yeah, it can come into here in some cases. Of course, I'd want to trade that one off first. Now, Paul's one of my students, and he's improved a lot over the last few weeks working with me. He actually got to 1500 for the first time. And if you're looking to improve your own chess, then go ahead and click the link in the description below. If you enjoy my teaching style, the way that I explain things, we can teach you a new opening perhaps, just like I've taught Paul a new one. I mean, his position's actually very good here. 600-point rating difference, and I think out of the opening, Paul's position is totally playable. Not just that, it might even be better. Who knows? Like I say, I'm a little bit new to playing the semi-Averbach myself, but if you're looking to improve your chess, as I said, click the link below if you have interest. Learn all about the Road to 2000 Chess Improvement Program, and look to get you some great results in chess too. So Paul's taking some time to think here, and I think that's very wise. Do also have to just watch out for where this knight could go other than capturing on e4. Like that threat is not really there at the moment, but there can be in some cases a move like a4 from black, which can provoke a3 if you're not paying enough attention, and then the knight jumps into b3. So always look at your opponent's strongest responses before you play any move. Like a4, I think it's a very natural reply to play a3, but also a losing one because of knight to b3. It's good, like I say, it's good that Paul's spending some time here, because this is an unfamiliar position which I believe he's unlikely to have had before, so he's got to spend some time in this type of critical moment, not to find a move so much, but to find the plan. Like, you know, this is not probably this type of thing, as I said, that he gets often, and because of that, when you're facing something unusual, you have to sometimes find a non-standard way of playing against it. And it's the c6 move, I think, which is necessary here. To play against the king in the center, like an observation of the position usually leads to the correct plan. Yeah, so observing that the white king is in the center is the clue that you need, probably, to look to open the center. And this is why it's so important to study not only the opening moves, you know, move by move, what are the lines to play, but also the thematic ideas. So against the king's Indian defense, white can do all sorts of things. White can castle kingside, white can castle queenside, white can leave their king in the center, white can even look to open the center and exchange queens and play a queenless middle game. And all of these different approaches from white necessitate a different approach from black. So it's not like you can just play the opening the same way every time, which is what I try and teach my students, right? Your approach needs to adapt based on the way that your opponent's playing. So Paul's having a good long think here, and interested to see if he comes up with c6. He may also look to capture here, possible. Okay, instead he plays queen to e7. I always have this annoying move knight to b5 as well, if the queen goes too far away. Well, it's hard to picture right now, but if it was on e8, then knight to b5 is quite irritating, threatening knight takes c7. And I can play this now because the e4 pawn is well defended. Okay, I'm just going to take off this bishop because I don't want to have to be calculating that every move. And yeah, now I think I'm actually able to, well, pushing g4 is very tempting. Let's have a look. If he takes, I can advance, maybe. g4, if he takes, or I can take back. He does have two attackers on that pawn though, so I have to be a bit careful about this one here. I think also getting the knight off its starting square is probably just a good idea at this moment. Like, it shouldn't be on its starting square for too long. I'd like to have the rooks mobile on the first rank, and the knight needs to play. So let's just play a move which can't be bad. And maybe the knight actually, I'm just actually remembering now how my opponents sometimes play this. Sometimes the knight can actually be on f2, and that can support the g4 advance. Yeah, it's useful to remember when you're trying to learn a new opening. Like if you've played against it with the other side. Like I've played against this with black quite a few times, and just remembering what your opponents do in order to defeat you. It's another way of thinking. Yeah, I'm kind of remembering now. The knight on f2. Okay, the knight going to h7 is interesting. Now, always useful to ask yourself, what has just changed about the position, right? Like, what is true now that wasn't true before? The knight moving back like this has taken some defense away from the g4 square. So g4 now is a bit more possible than it was earlier. If I play the knight here now, how does that change things? Capture, capture. The pawn on g5 could be useful because it would block the black queen's influence over that diagonal. Maybe this plan is still quite good. Like, the other thing about knight to h7 is that now this pawn is under attack, right? And he can capture it with check at the moment, so kind of want to avoid that. Another thing about knight to h7 is that he might be looking to play f5. I think that's quite risky with his king where it is. Let's see, knight to f2. Now he can't play queen takes h4. With extra ability to play g4. Looks like a pretty good plan to me. If he plays f5, do I play g4 anyway? It becomes very sharp, doesn't it? The good thing is I can now castle at a moment's notice, so just keep that in mind. If I want to go queenside, I can do that. But I do need to play the g4 advance, I think, in order to get this attack going. So, yeah, knight to f2 it is, I believe. This looks pretty good. g4 is coming next. This pawn's defended. And he still hasn't played c6. He might be going for f5, which would be a very double-edged move, looking to push pawns in front of his own king. But then again, yeah, that's the kind of move, I think, which would actually convince me to go queenside, because then I could bring the other rook over here. Okay, and that's exactly what he does. Okay, so we've got a fight on our hands, that's for sure. Exciting stuff. Now, if he were to advance, does that actually block up the king side quite nicely in black's favour? Maybe I want to actually capture here. He takes with the bishop. How does that work out for me? Maybe the knight here takes. I've got this open file, which might actually benefit me. Yeah, the problem is if I don't take, if I castle at the moment, for example, then he might actually just close the king side up, and it's actually quite hard for me to get through at that point. I could also look to play f4. Yeah, it gets very sharp, doesn't it, actually? But that's the opening I've gone for, so I have to play it now. Okay, captures in the center tend to favour the side which is better developed. And who is that? It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, this knight on h7 isn't great. This bishop isn't great, and capturing helps him develop it with a nice diagonal. But I think I can put the knight here and block things up. All right, let's go for this. May backfire, but based on what I was just saying, I don't think I could have allowed black to play f4 there. But yeah, f5 is very double-edged. I think this game isn't going to be a draw, put it this way. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to castle queenside. Yeah, for sure now. He'll take with the bishop, I think. I can put one knight here. And castling queenside seems very good for me. Can also be the possibility of opening a line at some point with f4, right? Because if there's a capture, then there's this check. Just keep an eye on that one too. Yeah, the ability to be able to castle queenside quickly is important here. Like, I've left my king in the center for a long time, but I've also given myself the chance to evacuate the king to the queenside with just one move. So I've been a bit non-committal here, and I think that's actually been a good thing, because at some point, right, as the center's opening up, I'll be able to just whoosh my king over to c1, and I think I'll be okay. I'm imagining it's going to be this move that he's going to play here. But in some cases, it can be correct to play with the pawn also, taking more space. But it does just seem a bit too tempting to develop the light squared bishop up at starting square with all these juicy light squares to take advantage of. But he doesn't do it. Okay. All right. I mean, he's continuing to surprise me, which is it's cool. It's quite cool to see moves which are a bit unexpected, but still very good. I think. I mean, what to do here? Like, I can play g4, and actually I've got everything ready to do that. If he takes, I take. Takes, 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 takes. Yeah, I think this is the way. It's very risky leaving my king on e1, but I don't want to allow him to close things up. g4 at this moment seems correct instinctively to me. Let's calculate it, because I think this is a critical moment. This is a moment which you want to get right. g4. If he takes, I take back. I don't think he's got any scary moves in that position. There's no checks. No good checks anyway. So here, if he takes the other way, same thing, I believe. This is something to think about, but it's okay because there's no knight here because of this one. Castling first is much safer. Do I allow him the chance to play that, though? g4 immediately, it seems to be the move. Sometimes you have to trust your instincts. I mean, this is getting to a situation with a fairly low time on the clock. g4. Takes, 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 and takes. Looks very dangerous for the black king if all those pawns leave the board. I've also got a line open on the f-file, but I think I'm okay for one move. I've got enough time to just castle. Let's go for this. This looks like the way to play to me. Opening up lines. Sometimes you've got to be brave in chess. Sometimes that one move, right, which you want to play, like in this case, I'd like to castle queenside here, but I just don't think it's as strong as playing the pawn break immediately, even though it's risky, even though it may cost me. Let's see. But I think this looks right. I mean, over time you gain some experience in chess, and you sort of start understanding that certain moves need to be played at the time, right? Without delay. G4 here. I've got everything prepared. I've got everything ready to play it. 1, 2, 3 defenders on the G4 advance, and I've got 1, 2, 3 attackers, right? Or the other way around. So black is attacking G4 3 times, and I'm defending it 3 times. And I think the more lines that open up here, the more dangerous it's going to be for the black king. Certainly an exciting game. I mean, very, very, very interesting game, and one that I'm sure we'll both actually be able to learn a lot from. It's actually quite fun playing a new opening, I have to say, you know, because I've got my certain openings which I play all the time, and I've memorized the lines. But playing something new, it's fun, no? Trying something different. Variety is the spice of life, after all. Now, he might also try and close things, but the advantage of playing G4 now is that I can open things. Like, I can actually play G takes H5. This is the advantage of playing this move now and not later. Like in the other line, if the pawn was still back here and I'd castled and he'd played F4, well then G4 is a lot harder to achieve, right? Here it sort of forces lines open. It forces lines open, I think, in a good way. There's a lot of danger here for both sides. Okay, he's played this advance, which I had thought about, and even maybe I can take here now. Let's see. It's worth considering at least. He takes here, he takes here. Or do I take here instead? Or do I take here instead? Okay, I don't think I can allow him to take here, because then that would be a pin on the bishop, right? Or maybe it's all right. No, it's not all right. That's not okay. No. So if I take here and he takes here, then the bishop is pinned and there's a pawn attacking it. So that's no good. I do have a check up my sleeve though. Could actually be quite important in this line. Let's see. Takes. If he takes, there can be something with this check. Takes, or maybe he's intending to take here at that point. Take here, if he takes here. Or I just castle. Maybe that's the way to go. He takes here, I take here. Then I've got a rook able to threaten the queen. As dangerous as it looks, I think I should actually take here. Take here, but he's going to take here. I think this might be his idea. Take here, and then actually I can't castle because then the knight would fall. No, it wouldn't, because I'd have this tactic. But then he can move his rook back here. All right, let's see. Getting down to the clinches now, where time's getting low. If he takes back this way, I think then I can castle, or I can check here first and then castle. That would protect the knight. Tough game. Take. Or take here first. Or take here first. Take here is the problem, because this is pinned. Are there enough checks? I don't think there are. No, I think I have to actually take here. Now, Paul has surprised me a few times already in this game. I have a feeling that he might look to take this way, looking to close up the king side. I think that's probably the right way to go. If he does take this way, then I've got this check defending the knight, right? Allowing me to castle. And then it's just a very, very double-edged game. I mean, in a position like this, I'm going to have to try to get behind the wall of pawns, right? Like if there ends up being a black pawn here on G4, like if he captures this way, as I think he might, then I'm going to need to try and get behind that structure of this this pair of pawns like this. Okay, that's what he does. So, like I mentioned, I can't castle because he'll take the knight. And actually this one doesn't work because he can move the rook back, blocking the check and getting the rook out of danger. So I think this check here is necessary first. And he's also got a passed pawn. Just notice this in an endgame. We might also have this this move here, right? Remember this one? The if he blocks with the queen, let's say, might have some sort of knight to b5 type of business. Yeah, and who does this endgame favour? Well, it's not so clear, actually. If he blocks here, I might actually need to trade queens and enter into this endgame. But he doesn't want to go for it. Okay, that's a brave decision. I'm not so sure I agree with it. But he's wanting to keep attacking. I think probably he probably should have traded queens there. That might have been a good chance for him to do that. Because now I get to castle. The queen's defending the knight. Now I've got to have a cool head here. It's down to low time, but it's okay. There's no check here because the pawn's guarding it. Okay, looking to put a bit more pressure on. Makes sense. I might have knight here though. Let's see, because then does he have time to do that? No, because I'll take with the other knight. This looks pretty good to me. Just looking for forcing moves. There could be this trade, in which case I get the bishop here, which is a better square for it now that this diagonal's blocked. I'm expecting that's what will happen. Take, take, and we'll get the bishop to d3. Might be able to bring the other rook around. Okay, he's left his rook undefended though. I don't know if he did that on purpose. Have I missed something? Don't think I've missed something there. I think maybe that might be a blunder, I think. Just make sure. I'll take that one. Yeah. That might be the mistake that leads me to winning the game. Yeah, so he's just, I think, lost a rook here, because the detail is that the knight defends the bishop. It's an important detail. And now, well, that's just a free queen. So, unfortunately, Paul did fall into some trouble when time got low. But really nice game. Really well played. I think a lot to learn from that one. If we just go back, I'll be interested to see what the engine says, but I would suspect that at some point around here, it would have been calling for the move c6, try to open the center. F5 was another very interesting idea though, you know, and put me into a lot of trouble. So, like I say, I think for the difference in rating, that was a fantastic game. I felt like I was playing against a 2000 rated opponent there. So if you'd like to build some of that into your chess and play the middle game just like Paul did in this one, then go ahead, click the link in the description below. Check out the Road to 2000 Chess Improvement Program. We can get you some great results in the game. Hope you enjoyed the video, and bye for now.